cloud ERP software is the de facto delivery mechanism that ERP vendors provide. But despite all the hoopla around cloud ERP software right now here in the 2020s, by the 2030s, we are going to be experiencing a cloud ERP software crisis. That's what I want to talk about here today. My name is Eric Kimberling. I'm the CEO at Third Stage Consulting. We're an independent tech-agnostic consulting firm that helps clients throughout the world with their digital transformation journeys. And for about 10 years now, the entire ERP software industry has been marching very aggressively towards cloud deployments. Most, if not all, software vendors are taking a cloud-first mentality. Most buyers, by default, are also looking at cloud solutions first, partially because on-premise is less available now than it once was. And cloud-only providers like NetSuite, Salesforce, Workday have really proven the size and scale that can be achieved with cloud solutions. And they've also proven what kind of profits and recurring revenue and stock price valuations cloud subscription revenue can lead to. So the entire market is moving this direction towards the cloud, so much so that it's creating very significant blind spots that no one seems to want to talk about in this industry. So what I want to share with you today is not why I'm anti-cloud, but why I believe there are some very significant material risks to what we're doing here today that's going to affect us in the 2030s. If you're leading a digital transformation or ERP initiative and you want to avoid the costly mistakes that most organizations make, that's where Third Stage Consulting comes in. We are an independent and technology advisory firm, meaning that we don't sell software, we don't take commissions from vendors. Our only job is to protect your interests and be on your side. We help executives and project teams plan, deliver, and recover digital transformations and ERP projects, reducing risk, improving adoption, and delivering real business value. If you want clarity before you commit to your digital strategy, or if something feels off track to you, feel free to reach out to us at thirdstage-consulting.com, and my team and I would be happy to help. The first reason why we are soon to experience a cloud ERP crisis is because organizations are giving up control. They're giving up control of their operations to cloud providers, the hosting providers that host the applications, and the technologists that decide how software is going to work. Now, in some ways, this has always been the case. ERP software providers have always built the software the way they wanted, whether it fit your business or not, but you had a lot of leeway around which software you chose, and if you chose a software with limitations, you could always customize it. Well, now in a cloud environment, you don't have nearly as much flexibility as you once had. And now you're at the mercy of what decisions software vendors make long term. Now, right now, with where we're at in the cloud journey, a lot of us are enamored by the fact that cloud providers provide best practices and standard solutions and standard processes that will help our organization scale. And even if that is true today, in 5 to 10 to 15 years from now, your business is going to change. And I can assure you that the technology is not going to change side by side, step by step with what your organization needs. In fact, I was just on a phone call today with a client who was talking about how they're using one of the cloud native software providers, one of the bigger, better known ones. And they've been on this solution now for a few years. They bought it based on what they thought they needed 3 or 5 years ago. But as of today, they're finding out that one of the key modules that was once supported and part of that solution is now being discontinued. And the problem here is that 80% of this client's revenue relies on that one module, but that module is going away. So that's just one example of a decision a software vendor can make that might benefit a majority of their clients, but it may not benefit you. And that's just one example. If you look at the hundreds or thousands of functions and features that software developers need to work on over the next years, you're going to find inevitably that things are going to diverge. They're not going to move and migrate together. So what's essentially happening here is because we have less flexibility with cloud, and because technology is changing so quickly, and because we have less control over our environment, that's going to make things a lot more difficult for us in the future, and it's going to create a crisis of sorts for organizations that have really doubled down on cloud solutions. When the entire cloud software category first came to be, one of the big selling points was that cloud systems were somehow cheaper than managing your own on-premise software. I believe that has been very strongly debunked by a majority of the industry, although there are still some purists out there that will argue cloud is cheaper than on-prem. but in just about every client situation I can think of, that has been absolutely false. Cloud software costs more than on-premise ever did. It may deliver more business value to your organization. Let's just say it does, potentially, and that's even questionable, but let's just say it does, hypothetically. The fact of the matter is the net cost that you're paying to your software provider is higher now. It's a lot like leasing a car. Your payment never goes away, and the bad news with cloud software is that those costs are only going to escalate. You will never see those costs go away, and you'll never even see them stay flat. You are going to see very material increases to that annual operating cost, that operating expenditure, as a result of the way these contracts are written. So just be aware of this and understand that when you commit to a cloud provider, you're not only committing to the annual subscription costs that you're paying in the first year, but you're committing to whatever pricing scheme they want to develop in the future. Another factor to consider with the cloud ERP revolution is the fact that intellectual property is getting watered down and lost in the whole transition. The reason for this is if you look at the old on-premise model, you had tons of flexibility. You could create your own custom code. You could make the software do whatever you wanted it to do, for better or for worse. Nowadays, people look down upon that in a very condescending way. They think that that's old school, that's an old way of thinking. In some ways, maybe it is. But the one thing that companies don't realize, and again, this is not a technical issue, this is a leadership issue, a strategy issue, is that a lot of that customization contains your secret sauce, your intellectual property, the things that make you unique as an organization and make you better than your competitors. Now, I'm not talking about little things that people resist in a natural transformation project. I'm not talking about a keystroke that they don't like or they don't like the way the screen looks. I'm talking about unique workflows within your core operations that give you a competitive advantage. It's the reason you're in business. It's the reason you win in your industry. It's the reason your customers choose you over other competitors. That gets lost when you throw out the customization aspect of on-premise. In fact, this is why so many large software vendors like SAP are struggling to get their ECC customers to move over to the newer version of SAP, which is S/4HANA, which is cloud-based. It's because so many companies spend millions of dollars developing their secret sauce and their intellectual property within that on-premise system. Now the vendors are trying to move those customers to the cloud and to get rid of that intellectual property and just adhere to best practices in the way the software was built. And there's just no possible way that standard off-the-shelf cloud software is going to contain best practices that are best for you. They're going to contain average practices that work for a lot of organizations, but not all of them. So intellectual property and your secret sauce is one thing you really have to be careful of. And when the technologists are making the decision of how to move forward and to tackle this cloud migration path, that's something that get lost in the shuffle, which is why leaders and executives need to really understand the implications of that. With on-premise ERP systems, organizations had maximum flexibility. They could customize the software, they could upgrade when they wanted, if they wanted. There's a lot of different decisions that they had ownership of. Now, again, people may look down upon that and look at that as the old way of thinking, but there were some benefits to it, and those benefits are getting lost in cloud ERP migrations. Companies now don't have the flexibility that they once had. And this comes not only in terms of how you establish or implement the initial cloud software as you are going to use it today, but when it comes time for upgrades in the future. You don't necessarily have the option to control when or what gets upgraded or changed within your software. You certainly don't get much of a say. It's going to happen whether you like it or not, whether it works for your business or not. Similarly, if and when your organization outgrows or diverges from what that software was good at for you at one point in time, and it's time for you to switch ERP systems, that is going to be a massively painful process. And it's always been painful to switch ERP systems, but now we have yet to see that first wave of customers in mass moving away from one cloud solution trying to move to another. And that is going to be such a painful process. I don't think the industry knows what they're in store for. The good news for the tech industry is that just guarantees future work and revenue and chaos that they'll benefit from. The bad news for buyers is that is future chaos and cost that's going to affect your business. So you've got to understand and be aware of the fact that you have less flexibility with cloud software. Right now, everything may feel fine, but in 10 years or so, I think we're going to start to see the cracks in the foundation of this whole cloud movement we're seeing now. So how do we fix this problem? What do we do about the fact that there is a cloud ERP crisis on the horizon? Well, first of all, I'm not suggesting that you be anti-cloud. even if I did think that it's not viable since so many solutions now are moving toward the cloud. But what I would say is there are some good hedging strategies you can put in place. One would be to not double down on one single ERP system, because that is just putting your entire operations at risk in the ways that I've talked about in this video. Secondly, I would look at ways that you could hedge your bets by having potentially multiple ERP systems, even though the technical purists listening in might say that's a terrible idea because it creates more technical complexity, but that may be okay. It may be that we're willing to take on that technical complexity and risk in the name of reducing broader and more material business risk. The third thing you can consider to navigate this problem is to look at not just cloud software applications, but maybe you look more at cloud platforms. So platforms that provide not just one app, but maybe multiple apps, and even the option to potentially build your own custom apps within that single platform. So in some ways, you're getting the best of both worlds. You're still in the cloud. You still have some off-the-shelf software, but you have a lot more flexibility in terms of doing what you need to do with your tech stack. So whatever it is you do, when you make your decisions today, you just want to make sure that you're considering your long-term risks, costs, and business value, and other decision points that you need to consider as an organization. And again, this is not just an IT decision. This is a leadership, an executive, and a strategy decision that needs to happen at the most senior level within the organization. Now, if you'd like to learn more about trends we're seeing in the industry and things you should be aware of as you embark on your digital transformation, I encourage you to read our annual digital transformation report. You can find that here by scanning the QR code right here, or you can go to the links below. And I'd also love to hear from you. What do you think about this cloud ERP movement? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you think there's other risks that I haven't mentioned here? Do you think I'm overstating the risks? Are there hidden benefits that I haven't mentioned in this video? Love to hear your feedback in the comments below. So I hope you found this information useful and hope you have a great day.